What's going on, everybody? Doc and Sloth, we are finally back together again for the Average Gamer guys, and it actually doesn't come at much of a better time than what we have to talk about today. So obviously, Sloth did a great job. We got a video up talking about the Microsoft E3 press conference, big reveal that went on yesterday. He did a great job kind of reviewing a bunch of the stuff that we can look forward to for next year. Today, we actually got some, I'll say exciting, because it is exciting news for Halo Wars 2. We got some tidbits of info for the two new DLC leaders that we will be getting in the month of June, as well as what you're looking at right here on the screen right now, the Awakening the Nightmare expansion being the keyword. I'll let Sloth kick it off a little bit. We're going to talk through this. Then we're going to jump into a game, and we'll kind of give our opinions, because as you guys know, if you've been fans of the channel for a while, we like to give it to you straight. We're not going to hold anything back. And we have some pretty strong opinions, I think, on this. But let's get to the details.
Strong but disjointed. So if you're asking yourself what's the difference between an expansion and a DLC, the expansion costs more. That's essentially what we are seeing. So the season pass comes with 8 new leaders, 2 new campaign missions, all that other stuff that goes along with those. Now, Awakening the Nightmare is not included in the season pass. It's been made very abundantly clear by 343 that everything that comes with Awakening the Nightmare, other than the map, there's going to be a free map that comes with this, open to both season pass owners and people that do not have anything at all, just standard base game. They will get that map. Everything else is going to be separate from the season pass. We are looking at a $20 price tag for 2 campaign missions and Terminus Firefight, which the 2 campaign missions they're calling a full campaign. They can be, depending on size and stuff. We'll kind of avoid all that for now. But 2 new leaders and having the flood in there and all that, as well as blur cutscenes, which are always cool, always neat. But it's actually very interesting to note that it is not part of the season pass, and it will be an additional $20.
Yeah, so I do want to point out again, Sloth, you said one. It is two multiplayer maps. Two multiplayer maps. Which,
Apologies.
no, it's okay. Which everybody is getting. So I don't even really include that into the $20 price tag. We'll get to that here in a second. I think the biggest thing for me, just to give everybody a greater understanding, if you didn't get a chance, we'll link as much stuff as we can, as always, down below, so you guys can watch the trailer for it, read up on it. But like Sloth said, the flood's coming in. That's actually kind of the premise for the new Terminus Firefight mode, which they showed a little bit today, and it actually looks really fun. It's kind of almost a base defense mode. You can build barriers. You're literally just fending off increasing waves of flood. It can go as low as 1 player up to 3 players, all against the computer. And it's definitely a different mix of firefight that we've seen before. You're going to actually, again, be able to build your base, be able to build your units, kind of modify. You'll have a different leader power trees. You can use all of the leaders that will be released at that time, plus whatever we get with the DLC. They talked 2 new DLC leaders specific to the expansion. I'm going to be honest. I think you're looking at them two literally right on your screen, right underneath Decimus right now. They said they were going to be 2 brute leaders. There are 2 guys right there that are all beefed up with shields and arm cannons and some crazy arm sword thing. I don't know even what that is. I'm going to be honest, those are probably it. More on that to come, but that's what we're getting again for the $20. Now, there is a silver lining here. There is actual good news for Season Pass owners, which is we're actually getting 2 new DLC leaders in the month of June. They said later in June, so don't hold your breath. It's not coming anytime soon. I would expect probably next week is probably the closest to expect, but potentially not until the last week of June. All of that would be fine. They're not going to nail down a date until it's literally ready, as we've seen before. So just hold tight for that. But the 2 new leaders, going to be really cool. I think probably 2 leaders that people maybe not expected, but definitely, hopefully, will bring some more variety. And this time around, they do a great job of giving us both a UNSC leader and Jerome 092, and then the Arbiter from the original Halo Wars 1 for the Banished side. So again, kind of going out of canon, which is cool, bringing these guys in. We haven't seen anything as far as units or special abilities or anything like that. I expect we'll see some of that stuff kind of trickle out either as E3 progresses or over the next week or so. But that's at least some good news, and that stuff's free. So I love free, or not free. You pay for the season pass.
Already paid for.
Yeah, you bought into it already.
Yeah, just like Halo Wars 2 is getting a free 4K update. Now all you have to do is buy the new console and a 4K monitor.
Yeah, that's. Hey, it'll be ready on November 7th, so get yourself ready, I guess.
That's it. Yeah, all of this, it's really interesting that all of this is coming out, and we've discussed when Forge came back. Obviously not canonically accurate, just kind of a fun little cool thing to do. And my thought at the time was, are we going to get another dead leader, a leader that we've already seen before? And it's really interesting that we actually have the Arbiter from the first one, Reaper Morami. I honestly would have loved to see Arbiter Thel, which is Halo's 2, 3, and 4, and onward all through those games, because he's awesome. But that also leaves the door open. I mean, it's interesting that they chose that particular Arbiter, because you do have our current Arbiter, you also do have Master Chief, which would be really cool. All that stuff, if you're not going to go canonically, it would be really neat to maybe see some of those. But I won't dispel that, and I want to save the opinion stuff until we at least get through all this. But it's just interesting that they did that.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I think, unless I'm wrong here, Sloth, I think that pretty much wraps up what we found out today. So we got some good already paid for stuff on its way in June, 2 leaders. So it's going to be a big month, honestly, for Halo Wars, with a lot of new stuff. I fully expect and know we'll be seeing balance changes, the buffs and the nerfs, especially once it releases as well, because we actually haven't seen some of those since May 22nd, I think, was the last time we got some of those balance changes. So I expect some of that stuff will be rolling out, which will be really nice. So a good month for Halo Wars 2. I think we can jump into our game, and we'll kind of shift over here to the opinion piece.
Yeah, and as we segue into that, I think we got to talk about what we saw. Real quick, what we did not see. No Halo 6. No Halo content other than what we saw today with Halo Wars 2. In a small blip that they used Master Chief's face or his helmet in like a marketing type capacity, just as a general Microsoft thing. So no Halo main title. And Bonnie Ross, the head of 343, actually did tweet out, and she said the team back at 343 heads down on the next big Halo event. It is good, but not ready to announce yet. So they don't have anything to show. So that'll be a nice little segue. What we saw, what we didn't see, and then what we felt is probably going to come next.
Yeah, so Sloth did a great job. Obviously, the reaction to the Awakening of the Nightmare expansion is probably going to drive, honestly, a lot of this discussion. I think, and the problem with that, which really stinks, is because people that have the season pass, like me and Sloth, and probably a lot of you out there, I'm super excited. 2 leaders. We've been begging for 2 leaders at one time in 1 month, probably since the game released, and they started dropping leaders for us. And the fact that we're actually getting it is super awesome. So I'm 100% happy with that. I hope that doesn't come off the wrong way. Super excited for that. I think the 2 big issues that are probably circulating around, and me and Sloth actually talked quite at length before we recorded this, happens to be the fact that, one, I personally feel like, they talked about doing this expansion was never intended to be part of Season Pass, which, if that's the case, that's fine. But it almost brings with it kind of a nod to the fact that maybe it wasn't originally planned. And what I take away from that is maybe the creation of this, because they are pouring probably a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of dedication into this expansion, which we'll see in fall of 2017, it almost to me feels like they might have spent too much time focusing on trying to get this ready, maybe even just for E3, because people are playing Terminus Firefight at E3, and almost the fact that that might have taken away from the DLC leaders that we've been getting over the last 4 months, essentially.
Yeah, and I think it probably comes down to just timing being poor. And one of the things we talked about is in Halo 4, they they announced certain amount of things for the season pass, and after they had fulfilled that, then they decided to start offering a customizational type thing. It was just purely cosmetic stuff, and they did so for an additional like $20. Well, people got very upset because, well, I bought the season pass. What? Why are you adding additional things on now? And they were very opaque, and they said, well, we promised you. I'll just throw numbers out there because I don't remember exactly. We promised you 5 scheduled updates, and you got 5 scheduled updates. And now we had time for extra stuff, so we did extra things. So
Sure.
now you have to pay extra because we gave you extra. And that makes sense to me. Now, I think they have something similar in mind with this, wherein they're going to be done with everything, and then they're going to turn and try and give us more. I just think they picked a bad time to announce, because we talked about we're getting stuff in June. We know who we're getting in June in Jerome and Reaper, the old Arbiter. So we know who we're getting in June, and it said what, fall of 2017.
Yep,
So
fall
that leaves us
2017.
July.
Yep. And
Possibly August.
Yep.
Yeah. So and then we're looking at September as maybe the next update.
Yep.
So I think it's just poor timing. I think they planned on doing all this additional stuff, but I think they just picked a bad time to announce it. Because if you think about blur cutscenes, which they promised are going to be in this, blur cutscenes take a long time to do.
Yes.
And that's not something that you can just say, "Hey, Blur, I need this stuff to do this, and I need it in 3 weeks."
Right.
Blur is the best in the business as far
Right.
as that stuff goes. So they're obviously going to need more time. So I think this stuff has been in the works for a long time, but I'm hoping at least that it was just a decision that was made a while back, and it was going to be additional after everything else that was promised in the season pass. And probably, if that is the case, it probably comes down to them wanting to have some kind of Halo related content to release for E3. And as we heard from Bonnie Ross, Halo 6 or whatever the next step is not ready yet. So I mean, that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm choosing to believe.
Whether it's actually true or not, we don't really know. I
Correct.
agree with you. I think that's a great point. It just, like you said, I think the timing was bad. I think it's going to be cool. The expansion, that kind of brings us to the second point. The fact that that people that bought in, paid for the season pass, spent spent the money, and wanted to get in and get the full experience of the game, for them to come back later and say, well, no, actually, you're not going to get all this stuff. I think that's what's rubbing people the wrong way. Like you said, I think
Yeah.
if they had waited on this and they waited, excuse me, until they were completely done with everything that they needed to do, I think, you know, maybe the last month that it's coming out, I really do think August, 'cause we're going to get 2 more leaders after the guys that we get in June. I mean, I'll be honest, that seems like it would have been fine. But the fact that they did it in the order that they did it in, I think, is the part that is really frustrating people, and that's completely understandable. It just sucks, to be really honest. And I thought
Yeah.
the best way that they could maybe kind of fix that a little bit, not that they need to necessarily fix it, but the way that they could kind of make everybody happy, I think, would be to at least give it to a discount for season pass holders. At least in some capacity, If they want $20 out of the people that didn't buy the season pass, that's fine. Maybe they get it and it's only, I don't know, $10 for those season pass holders. You do that, you're still kind of taking an extra little bit from those people that really did buy into your game and want it, I guess, and want the full experience from the beginning. But then at the same time, you're still kind of rewarding their loyalty, I guess. So I don't know. It's tough. It's not a good situation for them to be in. Like we said at the beginning, there's a lot of really upset people. And I honestly, I think when you texted me and told me first that it was going to have to be paid for, I was like, seriously? Like, why would they do that? And like you said, I agree. I think it's bad timing, but I don't know. That's I guess what they get. Honestly, this game's been kind of a PR nightmare since it released. So.
A little bit, and that's something that we've seen happen time and time again with 343.
Yep.
That sucks because I like a lot of decisions they've made. I dislike a lot of decisions they've made. But the big thing is they have a reputation for kind of screwing up launches. That's not a great thing to have a reputation for.
No.
And I don't know. It's just their handling of things could be a lot better.
Yes, absolutely. 100% agree. I hope people. The other thing that I think really sucks with this too is just the fact that what they're bringing in this expansion with new missions, finally getting the flood, which people have been like just begging for. It's all great stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like it's almost I feel like might overshadow the two missions that we are going to get, and they've talked about that's what they were going to do pretty much from the beginning, which no issues there. It almost might just overshadow those. If they're subpar or they're just okay, they just kind of follow up the rest of the story and maybe give a different perspective. People are going to be like, oh, well, great, now I have to buy this extra $20 expansion to get the actual good mission. You know what I mean? Because I think this is what people wanted to see. So there's a lot of different factors going into it, and honestly, probably not making the best of decisions from the team in the end. But we'll kind of see. We'll see what the reaction from the community allows.
Well, I'll tell you, it ain't great.
Right.
I use Reddit for a lot of things to stay current on all types of stuff. The Halo subreddit, and I actually just realized I did not check out the Halo Wars subreddit. And the top post on the Halo Wars subreddit is the DLC should at least be discounted for season pass owners. Yeah. That's something along the lines I think I heard somebody mention.
Yeah.
It's a good point. I do like that idea. I actually didn't think about that right off the bat, but it does make sense, and I'm glad you brought that up. But in the Halo subreddit, which is much larger, there's a lot of frustration there. And credit to Grim Brother 1. He's a dev that's been around since the launch of Halo 5. He's always on the subreddit. He's always on the forums over at Halo Waypoint and stuff like that. He's taking a lot of flack, and I think he's doing so well. Basically, everybody's pooping on you. It's hard to be a nice guy, but I mean, he's doing a good job, I think. And he's actually responding to a lot of strong comments that people are going to have because it's a controversial topic. So he did go back and reiterate that Awakening the Nightmare is going to be separate from stuff that is in the season pass. The season pass still has 4 leaders to come, including Jerome and the Arbiter, plus 2 unrevealed for a total of 8 leaders, which are standalone $6 a piece without the season pass, as well as 2 new campaign missions, plus the Ultimate Edition of Halo Wars that was all in the same bundle that was $20 over the standard edition of Halo Wars 2. I do see that. I do understand that.
Yep.
There is what he's basically saying is you're still getting a good deal. This is still a good value. I'll agree with that. I'm okay with that, but I don't think that's the point. I don't think the point is bang for the buck. I think the point is what I said was going to happen versus what I'm going to make happen.
True.
And I think that's where people are getting caught up.
I think that's great. Like you said, the deal up front, if the expansion never happened, I think people would be happy. I really do. And that's a great point. You got a lot for it, especially if you bought the Ultimate Edition. And that's all great. Just it's how they're going about it. Or even, here's the thing. It's hard for me to believe at the outset that they didn't know that they were going to do this. You know, or even
Agreed.
Very quickly after the release of the game, it's hard for me to believe that they didn't know that they were going to do an expansion. So I think at that point, you have to be upfront with people. You have to be upfront with people to let them know to say, hey, we're going to do Season Pass. We're going to give you X. There's also going to potentially be, or is going to be, an expansion, and it's going to cost X. If they would have done that, then it would have solved all these problems. To be really honest. You be honest with the people, your consumers that are paying for it, and they're going to reward, I think, that honesty with that. But the fact that they didn't makes that kind of hard, and probably getting a little bit of what they deserve, I think, being the other tough point.
Yeah, and I think even with that, you don't have to say that this DLC will cost X, and or you know the additional DLC will cost X. Just saying we plan on releasing 4 updates with 8 leaders, 4 additional maps, all that stuff. Doing that goes a long way.
Right.
And then when you say, with the opportunity for us to do more content at a later date after or something like that,
sure.
You don't even have to tell them, because there's a lot of things you can't account for, and I understand that.
Yep.
But just to say that that's a possibility, especially after what happened in Halo 4 that we mentioned, we know it's a possibility. They know it's a possibility. So just bring it up. Go ahead and, pull that scab off right at the very beginning, because if people aren't happy with that, they're definitely not going to be happy when you spring it on them after they've already paid an additional $20.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely right. Absolutely. And a great point. I don't know. Again, I'm excited for it. I don't want I hope the tone of this video didn't come off as being super negative, because we are excited for it. We're just not excited for the circumstances of where they brought it and how they brought it about. And I do think you're really on it, Sloth, though. I think they needed something Halo related to talk about, and they got it. Just probably wasn't the way they wanted to do it.
Yeah, they're testing the old adage that there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, we don't want this to come off as negative, but we also don't want to not tell you our opinions. Yeah, like that's not what we're about. We're not trying to get sponsored by 343. That's not what this is. It's
maybe then we get the DLC for free. For the expansion for free.
We're going about this all wrong, man. We got
smack that like button, guys. We need it.
But that's exactly what we're here for, though. Is to not give you a skewed view. We want to be honest. We want to be upfront. We want to have a good, open discussion about it, even if we're not fans of it. If you are, we want to hear about that.
Yeah,
we want to know where you're coming from with it and why.
That's the one thing that we were going to say eventually, and I hope everybody understands that we don't ask for the comments because it helps us in any way. We ask for the comments because I sincerely do enjoy, I think Sloth does too, talking with you guys in the comments and seeing what your opinions are. This is one because of kind of how it was set up and how it was done. We really do. I sincerely do want to know. And I hope we can hear from everybody, because it is controversial. I don't know another way to say it. But it is controversial. I don't know if this is a good move. We've been playing these games and not talking about them at all, and I'm going to kill this guy and this guy.
It's probably a good move, because then he'd pop down
a lot of value on
An
that.
engineer, and the engineer has nothing to heal.
Yeah.
It's messed up.
Continuing to fight over.
Yeah, and uh, we just wanted to get it out there and kind of talk a little bit about all those going on, because there's a lot of different angles to
Mhm.
all this. So, I mean, there's not really a whole lot of other ways to look at it, I don't think, from the ways we already have. But that's why we put the video out, because we're not 100% sure about that. You know, we're just two morons. So
Just two
there's
idiots
definitely
playing some
ways
Halo
that-
Wars.
Right. There's definitely different ways to approach things that we probably haven't come up with, and we probably
Won't.
haven't put a lot of thought into. So, I mean, this is a game and a community that we care about. So, I mean, we want to hear that stuff. We want to be able to have some input and have it be productive. Would be great.
Absolutely.
So that we're not just kind of complaining all the time. But I don't know.
Hopefully we can win
this has not
game.
been. Hopefully, this has not honestly been a particularly beneficial E3 for Microsoft as a whole. I don't feel like
I'd agree to that.
there just wasn't a whole lot done. For me, there wasn't a whole lot to this E3 period. I'm a huge fan of the Elder Scrolls series, and then we got teased that we're gonna see Skyrim again. I guess that's okay. Not really sure what they were thinking with that either, but that's another video. But
I do love me some Skyrim.
it's just it hasn't. Yeah, this just hasn't seemed like a particularly great E3 for me as a fan of gaming and stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. I think, with that regard, I think we're just looking at a lot of, honestly, a lot of push for probably the Xbox One X, which rightfully so. I think that's going to be awesome. I think that's going to do hopefully what the community and people want. But that's probably maybe a little bit where the focus has been, and obviously game developers are separated from a lot of that, but at the same time, they're kind of conjoined a little bit. So, and they kind of have to fall in. I feel like anytime you get a new console, you always get, the makers of the games to fall into the trap of, okay, well, we have to try to, and I'm sure Microsoft pushes it at some point. We got to figure out a way to get people to make a game that will support whatever the new tech that we have coming out is, and I think that's probably a little bit of what we're seeing.
Yeah, that's probably a decent call. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because we usually see it, and for me, honestly, I usually stay away from the new games that come out with the new consoles for a little while, because they're usually not as well thought out. To be 100% honest, they're usually just not as great. I don't know that we'll see particularly that with the One X, because it does kind of seem like a reskin of the Xbox One, just with a little bit stronger stuff under the hood.
Right.
But I mean, that is something to think about.
The other thing about it is, you can win this game. Trying desperately.
I think that's very doable.
Maybe.
Maybe that's the key. Maybe we don't pay attention to what we're doing.
Focus at all. That's easy for
We
a
just
lot
talk
of us.
A lot.
Yeah. I gotta get this guy back. These guys have really been falling for the suicide grunt mechanic. Really weird. Did that guy die? Alright, there we go.
I fell for one pretty hard earlier, I'm not gonna lie.
Out of this.
I didn't fall for it, but I wasn't paying attention, I guess I should say.
Happens. Best.
It must, because it happened to me, and I'm the best.
Oh man.
But
hopefully you guys enjoyed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say I am looking forward to seeing the 2 new DLC leaders. I'm hoping they're gonna be like next week or so. That would make sense. Third week in the month, correct? That's usually when we see them.
That we can't hold that anymore.
Well, that's also true. That's fair.
They did very precisely say we will not we will not put out a date until we are 100% firm that it will be good to go on that date. And we got
Well, you know what?
got
I'm
what we
okay with
asked
that.
for.
I respect that.
I do too. Especially with again, it's just been a PR nightmare. This last little,
Yeah.
pretty much all of Halo Wars 2, pretty much entire time has been a PR nightmare in one shape, form, fashion, or another. So I feel for the team.
Yeah.
I do. Guess I could.
I also feel for this team because this is about over.
I can do with this classic.
Drop that last unit, and that is game. Well done, sir.
Yes.
Well done.
That is a great way. 2 victories in a row. That's a great way to end it. So we'll wrap it up there. Sorry for a little bit longer video. Hopefully, if you didn't want to watch this long, you probably already stopped watching. If you have watched this long, seriously, thank you. It means a whole ton, and I hope you guys have at least enjoyed our discussion about what's coming out. Hopefully, you are excited for the new leaders. I know we are. I am excited. As much as I don't want to pay $20, I am excited for the new expansion. I think it's another way that's going to keep the game fresh for even another, I would say, month after probably our season pass leaders expire. So that's always good. That's good to see. But let us know, sincerely, let us know in the comments down below what you think about the 2 leaders. As obviously we'll cover, as soon as we get more info on them, we'll be covering it. But let us know essentially about everything that we've talked about here and everything coming up for this game. And again, if you want to get more info, check below, check in the comments. We'll link everything that we can for Halo Wars down there, so you can watch the trailer and read up on probably a little bit more of the specific information. But I hope we did a good job of covering it. I feel like we did. What do you think, Sloth?
Yeah, I think so. With all of the stuff letting us know. If you had a cat growing up, please let us know color and name as well.
Yes, Fluffy's always a great name, but that's usually by default if you can't come up with a better one. So I've been Doc, that's been Sloth, we're Average Gamer Guys. As always, thank you so much for checking this video out. More content will continue to come to the channel, as we pretty much always do. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you again so much for watching. We do appreciate all the support. I'll check you in the next one.